Welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate, episode 107. We're not exactly anything. We're a crew, a team, and in some ways, we're a family. Welcome tonight, and happy Sunday to you all. It is Store Champ Bonanza, it seems like, with millions and millions of Store Champs going on around the world. Tonight, we're going to be having a conversation about some of the lists that we have kind of seen pop up. We're going to do top list and then possibly a few other lists to go along with it. We're also going to look at Pattern Analyzer, the website, and I want to give a shout out to my buddy Ikper and his dedication and effort to make this website the analytics premium website to go to. If you aren't enticed enough with that, we are going to be also doing our list archetype analysis continuation with Alpha Strikes, how to play them, and how to beat them. With that being said, let's bring in my co-host for tonight. Please welcome JJ. How are you tonight?
Doing all right. Had a great Saturday. We had a store champ here over at Gamers Armory here in Cary, North Carolina. Had a great crowd there. Quite a bit of locals there that came out. We also had quite a bit of folks out there from Charlotte that came over. Big shout out to Dreadchant that came out, Warbot that came out as well, and a couple of others that came out from the different Discords that I see. So it was great to see everybody out there, and we had a blast yesterday. It was so much fun.
Awesome. Also joining me is Alex, the bench warmer, who's going to run Scum and every store champ until he wins one. How are you tonight, sir?
I guess I'm just never going to win any store champs.
I'm doing close, okay. At least, though.
Yeah, Scum's always going to be in second in store champs. That's the theme you'll see today. No, I'm doing pretty well. You know, ready to talk about some X-Wing. Excited.
Awesome. Well, if you didn't know, I have a quick announcement, quick update, and we at Michigan GT over here in the United States, in Lansing, will be held the first weekend in October, and we have finally solidified prize support, which, I don't know, we'll determine how we want to handle exactly everything, but what we've requested is that all the money that we get back, we get to respend at the store. And this year, we're going to buy smaller ships and be able to give out more prizes so that essentially everybody will get something halfway down. The other exciting announcement is we are officially going to have 2 store champ invites for Michigan GT. So hopefully we get more than 12 people to come out. It would be nice. Last year, we had like 24 or 25, something like that. And then a couple of people dropped the last day. We will kind of see how it goes, but essentially our goal is to give out 2 store champ invites to the people who attend. Now, with that being said, what we really want to make sure you do is go forth and register. Last year it was $40. It's $40 this year, but that gets you into the convention as well. It is a wargaming convention, but it does help support local communities. They do have a beer cart. I don't think I bought any beer last year, but I'm sure some of the other fellows probably bought a few beers there. I'm pretty sure Mark, maybe Alex, got a couple.
Yeah, they have Two Hearted. That's the best IPA ever made.
Yeah. So if you do show up, you are going to get more for the $40. But because we have 2 store kits, from what I was told, we're going to be able to give out double the cards. So the top 2 people will get both Han cards. And then we'll be able to kind of cascade some of the prizes down for that. We will also be giving away a set of acrylic. The probability of what it is it's going to be a first player marker acrylic that'll be unique to Michigan. So that way you no longer have to throw a coin on each side of the table. You'll be able to have an actual cool little tracker with that. And as well as a few other Michigan themed type tokens to go along with it. If that wasn't enough, we are also going to be giving away, we'll be giving away some ships as well. Kind of the same way we did last year. And we will be having some prize support in terms of card handouts that I'll be collecting from some of the store kits coming up here in the future. So if you want to head over, if you're going to be in Michigan or anywhere near us, Lansing is kind of dead center. So it is a little bit of a drive if you're coming from Canada. But it is still 5 hours. It is a fun time. And I'm thinking about getting a hotel room if enough people come out, and just staying out in Lansing. So if we get enough people that are going to stay and not travel back home, I'm going to get a hotel room and we can go out and have drinks afterwards, for it. This year we are limiting it to 32, so the most we will have is a top cut of, I think, 4. I have to double check. It's either 4 or 8. So, but I think it's 4. But either which way, we will, whatever the guidelines say, we're going to hold to that and specifically go exactly what the Store Champ guides say instead of doing what we did last year for it. And that way, hopefully, we'll be able to get home at a more decent hour. We'll see.
We're talking about, we're young men. We could stay up to 4 in the morning playing X-Wing. Come on.
We can. I mean, I'll tell you what, if I get a hotel room, it's inconsequential, right? Then,
exactly.
Then the bed's just like 10 feet, or 10 minutes down the road, or an Uber
exactly.
ride. Last year, there was like this party that I wanted to go to, but like Dee and I were like, it's 11 o'clock, and she was like, I probably should go home. And I was like, yeah, I should probably go home too. But this year, I might just get a hotel room and call it a day, especially if JJ somehow can pull it together and come visit us up here in Michigan.
I'm trying to work the miracle, man. I'm trying to work it.
We could always attempt to kidnap the governor.
Nope. I got to take that out of the podcast. I'm not going to do any of that. Thanks for making extra work, Alex. Damn it. All right. Anyway, so hopefully you all will come to Michigan GT if you're in the area. Like I said, we are giving away 2 store, or we have 2 store kits, so it'll be 2 invites. So I'm pretty excited about that. We're going to make up a graphic here and start promoting it a little bit heavier in the coming days on Facebook and stuff like that. So I'm excited. I'm hoping to win my Store Champ invite so I don't have to play and can just TO the whole time. I don't know. I might just TO the whole time anyway, just to help Ken out. So with that being said, we can get into it tonight. You guys ready? Ready to talk some X-Wing?
All right. Yeah.
So the first thing that we're going to do is I want to go through and actually kind of talk about the pattern analyzer to begin with. This, like I said, this was put on by actually a member of our syndicate. He's from overseas, but he built this and he kind of added on. So before, originally, if you just come here into the home screen, it's going to be slow because of my internet. You can type in, you can pick where you want your event ID from, and you can like specifically look at statistics from an event. So this one will give you all the different statistics. Everything is imported directly out of List Fortress. So what I will say is I really hope people put their info into everything. That way we can always look at it. But a new feature that just got released that he's working on tweaking, but I'm going to go ahead and show everybody what it is just because I'm very excited about this. This actually breaks down and takes the tournament analysis, and you have 3 different options. We can look at last points update, we can look at last weekend, and this one's going to be really good for podcasters because this will kind of give us just information from the weekend before, and we can look at just the previous month. If you look at up at the top here, it'll give you a date range for whichever one it is. It'll tell you how many tournaments were played and how many squads. So now you've seen these graphics before, right? Like none of these graphics are super new if you've watched our show before. So there's probably not a real big need to go into all of the analytics of that. And I guess I'll just throw it out there if Eekpair wants to join me on a podcast one night and we actually just record how to use the website as like a demo tool. I'll happily help you to do that. But essentially the way all of this breaks down is it kind of looks at faction distribution. And now instead of just looking at one tournament, we're looking at all of them combined. So we're going to pick just last month, which is going to be June 16th to July 17th. And then what this does is this kind of tells you your faction performance. As you can see here, it brings in, unfortunately, the unknown squads, but some of that is a little bit of a bug, but at the exact same time, some of that is because you didn't turn your bloody lists in. You don't turn your lists in. It skews our statistics. Damn it.
Yeah.
Then the next piece is kind of squad size. It'll give you the average ship counts. So you can see somebody did run 1 8-ship list. One 8-ship list did play. But we need to get 31 3-ships list, which I think that's pretty interesting. I don't know, guys. I think we were kind of shitting on 3-ship lists for the most part.
People have been trying them.
So
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Under the right hands, a 3-ship list can be absolutely devastating. You know, if there's self-contained, ships that don't have to rely on like coordination and stuff like that to be effective, they can be absolutely great. But in general, they are tougher to succeed with than some of the other lists that we see that are a little more in common right now, especially with the points.
I'm curious which factions were running the 3-point list, because you can have like a decently viable one in like separatists or rebels or even resistance. You can get some 3-point lists.
I mean, Boba and another fire spray and like Hawk is still a viable list, I think, for Scum. Yeah,
sure.
It won store champ. Okay,
all right, you're right. That is 100% fair. It did. Not for me, it did, but for somebody it did. So the other thing is like your faction victory, so you can kind of see which ones are winning the most. This one's a little bit illusional. Your performance metric over here is actually better, and as you can see, based on all of the numbers, the resistance is actually technically doing the best in terms of wins. Doesn't mean they've won a star champ, but it's creating a higher probability, right? And so like. And the reason I wanted to talk about this a little bit, and we're going to get into some of the chassis distribution and stuff like that in a minute, but the reason I want to talk about this is because when we prep or plan and try to determine what are you going to run, what do you want to run, what do you want to run, we all know that there's certain people that usually will win with whatever, right? And they skew the statistics. And that's where we could talk about player ranking, like in the future. Not something I want to do tonight. It's not something I want to do right now with a lot of research, but player ranking is something that could affect this and could change some of these numbers. The other thing that you got to look at, right? The other big thing here is the pure fact that if Resistance has a better chance of winning, but can't take it over the top to actually win a sword champ, right? That's where we have to have that conversation of, where do those anomalies come in for? This here is not going to actually tell you which one is going to go over the top. So, right, you could get a lot of good matchups. That Scumless, for example, probably had a pretty decent matchups, and that's how they eked it out, right? And I apologize, I'm not diminishing anything from that player, because that player is probably a very good player. What I'm just trying to get across is these are only guesstimates that help you make a decision kind of where you want to go with your list building, right? The next piece in here is chassis distribution, and it is broken up by each of the different factions. You can look at it by name, right? Or you can look at it by frequency. So as you can see, X-Wings and Rebels are probably the highest taken thing. Bet you Luke probably is like, 60 to 80% of those would be my guess. Same way as this 50% here is probably 90% Han, unfortunately.
Yeah. Or Poe.
Nope, this is Rebel only.
Oh, Rebel only. Yeah, sorry. Yep. Fair.
Like, then you could go to Scum. You can see Fang Fighters are by far the highest taken. Again, this isn't a predicator of what does well, does not do well. That comes up in just a second here. But anyway, so I just thought this is interesting. If you want to look at by faction, you also have points cost here. Your average points cost is 4, which kind of shows the 5 ships list, whatever, same thing. And then we get to move into pilots. You can pick by faction. So we could go into Rebel, and then we could go by score, right? We could go by how many times they were taken. We can go by the frequency that they were taken, which is probably going to be about the same. We could go by win rate, right? And again, this is going to be a little skewed as well, because here you see Gina is at the top. She has a higher win rate, but the frequency is very low, right? She's only taken 15 times, so her frequency is fairly low, but she has a very high win rate. So, I don't know. If
This
you
is
look at
almost like a tenth of what like people brought with Luke.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
very
So
small.
again, those do like affect the numbers a little bit. We know that, but at the exact same time, this is kind of what I had been dreaming of as somebody that does analytics for a living. This is kind of like the ideal state that you can look at, and you can pick whatever faction you want, right? So as you can see in here, high win rates when you add everybody together is resistance, very low ship counts, and very low frequency. People are not bringing Poe in the T-70. I can't imagine why, but they're not. But here, and Alex, I think you're going to find this interesting. Kai has a better win rate than Nimi or BB-8.
Well, Kai is a 4, so that kind of helps. But also Kai was brought 5 times.
Yeah.
So that win rate is a little suspect.
Yeah. So then we have your counts here. Obviously, Boy Luke, Sabine, Han, Keel. Oh, those are things. There's Elo, that type of a thing. They do the same thing for upgrades. But here, this is new. The compositions. So this, he expanded this in my request. And what I asked is, like, when you get, like, we call it compositions, but when you take all the different ships, and what is the pattern behind them, right? Like, what is that blueprint that everybody's bringing? And it doesn't matter what pilot is in it, because I think that is a whole different type of discussion, and that adds a little complexity that I don't know if it's going to be as easy to dissect at this current time. But you could sit here and actually look at what what is taken the most. So obviously this rebel, these two rebel archetypes are the highest taken. They don't have the best win rates, but again, they have the highest counts.
Yeah, when a list is popular, a lot of people will bring it. And because so many of the field is bringing it, you are going to have people who are losing with it as well.
Yep.
So generally, the most broad kind of list isn't usually the highest performing.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
and the other part of it too is like some of these upgrades are like really great filler pieces too. In the previous updates, we saw a lot of like Predator or Elusive because it was cheap enough and it gave you a passive mod. And I think that probably the more common ones that we see now is probably like Marksmanship and such, that they're just cheap upgrades that can do pretty well in the right list.
Yeah. And like I said, I think this gives people a starting point, right? Like, the idea behind this is not to go, oh, how do I find net list and just deck it, right? But this kind of will tell us where the repetition is. As you can see, bombers here are pretty have a pretty high win rate. Again, you just have to pick which one you want to, look at. Overall, when we look at it, here's your rebels, here's your resistance ones that are on top. Even though they're not making they're not winning every single store champ, they're out there as a very high known quantity. So when you want something to practice against, outside of this list here, which seems crazy to me, but when you talk about what do you want to fly, learn how to fly against, these are going to be what you're going to do the most. So, all right. Does any of you have any other questions at all?
Just a comment, really, and this is mainly for a lot of the newer players or casual players that are looking to get back into the game. I know I've spoken with a lot of players that are coming in from like 2.0 and into 2.5 with new scenarios and stuff. This is definitely a great tool for you to see, how to potentially set up your potential list if you're looking to get into the competitive side of X-Wing. This is a very, very great resource to look to see what is doing well and see patterns for different builds that you might be interested in, and to help you get started on your path to making your own list and hopefully doing well in your next store championship.
Yeah. And if you have suggestions or recommendations or things like that, I need more than a one line to say, hey, I just want to see, I want to see Rebels compared to Separatists or something like that, right? But if you want to work with me or message me, I can actually work with anybody. So if you have a suggestion, I will work directly with them. Any suggestions are open. I just got to be able to flesh it out for you. But anybody that wants to make a suggestion or a recommendation that they feel would be beneficial, let me know. Again, the guy does this pro bono. This is like free. I don't even think he has at this point like a GoFundMe or like a Patreon or anything. This has all been stuff that he's just done on his spare time. And I would like to say it's all because of me, but it's not. So that would be a little selfish to say. But anyway, if you do, anybody does happen to want to have do those things, let me know. I will tell you, unfortunately, the one program it does not work like very well is that that LBN, whatever that's called. What's LBN? What's the other famous list builder?
Launchpad Next.
Thank you. So Launchpad Next doesn't play well all the time with some of the other stuff. So, but all right. Shall we move in to our pattern analyzer segment?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Up on the docket tonight is our pattern analyzer segment, where we look at and break down different metas and all of that fancy jazz to kind of talk through exactly what's going on in the championship world. So tonight we're going to start off with JJ's store champ that he did not win, by the way. And we'll start there. And I'm not going to cover JJ's list because it's a secret. And he didn't do well enough to even make our top 3 in one unique list. So, JJ, why don't you tell us about your store champ?
So we had 12 players come out for this store championship over here at Gamers Armory. Big shout out to Stephen Parker from Dials and Dice, who helped actually run this event and provided some awesome prizes for everybody there. There wasn't a single player that left without any prizes, and it was really great, well-run event. But yeah, it was definitely really fun. This actually came down to the very last game that was played. It wasn't even like the top because the last undefeated player went up against the 3-1, and he actually lost. So we ended up having 3 players that went 3-1 for the top there, and it came down to the strength of schedule, which was reliant on the previous 2 players that both players had played, and that final match would determine the strength of schedule that decided who came up on top on this. So it went from all the attention being on the top table to the second to last table where the last 2 players were playing together, and it was just a great time. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Got to see quite a few different lists there. I think the only faction that wasn't represented was Resistance, sadly. But we had quite a bit of Rebels and Empire and First Order, and then a handful of Separatists and one Scum list.
Yeah. But Resistance came in 4th in that tournament.
Yeah,
could be that.
That's true. Yes. So let's take a look at the winner here. This one is Thiel. He was the winner for this event here. So he was flying Empire. He had the Grand Inquisitor in the TIE V1 with Malice Elusive Fire Control System. Battle Yavin Vader, Vizier with Emperor Palpatine, and Second Sister with Heightened Perception, Lone Wolf Shield upgrade to round off this list here. And this is actually really good, right? Because if you can set up Second Sister as that flanker, and she can engage at initiative 7 if she spends that Force for Heightened Perception, having that potential double mod with Lone Wolf and a focus, and also a second Force, you're able to possibly strip tokens and allow for Vader and Grand Inquisitor to come in and punish with their attacks, and then also being boosted by Vizier that has the Force there with Palpatine. It's a really good list there. I believe his loss was actually on.
JJ froze.
He lost to the Resistance player in the first round.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you know what scenario that was, Alex, by chance?
Oh man, I have to like look through all this. It's Assault.
Assault, yeah. Sorry, Assault, yeah.
And I was gonna say Assault has to be the worst one for that list because you only have
Assault.
one ship that cares
Mhm.
or can like be by that. Everything else has to be somewhat cagey.
Yeah.
Really. Because in this list you can't just lose Vader.
No.
And expect that list to win.
Yeah, you definitely try to get the high initiative kill and try to reduce the amount of dice that are coming back to you. And you usually double modded between Palp's Force and then, of course, the locks for those lists and able to put in quite a bit of damage. So, yeah.
So I have a weird question, and maybe this is, I guess maybe you can't fit it because if you take Juke, Second Sister doesn't have enough points. But like to me, Grand Inquisitor would be really good with Lone Wolf too.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm a little weirded out by the Malice choice. Like I guess I understand why you can do that and use it. But like it just feels like that would be like between that and Elusive. I don't know. Like isn't there a different build for Grand Inquisitor? Is this just like the I want to live forever build? Is that what this is?
I mean, there's a lot of crits in that list too.
Yeah, I think for Grand Inquisitor, I mean, you're usually spending one Force to apply the range bonus if you're looking to attack at range 3, and having Malice to force a crit through, especially if you're shooting after Second Sister and after Vader, you're more likely to get the crit through and help generate 2 Force back for Grand Inquisitor if you're able to get the pilot crit on there. So there is some synergy in that, in trying to be aggressive as possible and then recover the Force to be defensive at initiative 5, where of course you're seeing, your Luke Skywalkers, you're seeing a lot of the Jedi from the Republic, you're seeing a lot of the like Dirge that can engage at I5, and you do need those defensive mods to help keep you alive for further shots.
Yeah, I mean, it only has 10 points, so it's not like you can like just completely outload them with a lot of things.
I see. Second Sister, you used to be able to run Juke shield upgrade on her?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
that was the
She must have lost points. Oh, Juke went up. That's right. Juke went up in
Yeah,
points.
went up by 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see. So I don't know, like my Grand Inquisitor would be Heightened Perception, Malice, Lone Wolf at least, I guess.
Oh,
I mean,
that's a lot of Force being spent.
well, it is. But you could dump the Heightened Perception if you don't want it. But like to me, I don't know. Lone Wolf almost feels better on that chassis. I don't know. That's just me, I guess. Because it allows you to. I guess if you dump Heightened Perception, there you go, and kept your Malice and Lone Wolf, you now have 3 more points. You could you could do Brilliant Evasion. There you go. I don't know.
Rockets, man.
I'm not gonna
slap rockets on
I'm
it.
not gonna put rockets on them. Nope.
It's an I5.
I
Reposition into focus. You know how easy it is to get off with that? Either
Sure.
reposition with a focus.
You just
Rocket
like rockets
discipline.
too much. All right, you
They're-
take this list and do that, and then we'll see how well it does.
I ain't running a 4-ship Empire list. Are you kidding me?
Come on. Why not? All right. Alex, what did the runner-up Dr. Moneypants run that we joked about earlier because Scum just somehow can't win except for one store tournament?
Always in second. So this is a Scum list. It's also 4 ships. So that must have been a really interesting final there. It has a Dengar with expert handling, BT1, contraband, the title, and R5P8. Fenrau with fearless, Beskar, and burnout thrusters. Lima with plasma torps and R4B11. And Oterok with crackshot, fearless, Beskar. So you got 2 6s and 2 5s. And 2 Fangs and Dengar in Lima.
And I don't like Lima all that much, but I know she's a pretty known quantity, so like it's fine, right?
Lima's
like,
my favorite part of that list. I love Lima.
Yeah. But I will say I do like this list, like it being the high initiative. You might have to dodge a few matchups, but I mean you have 2 heavy hitters. You have Fen and you have Dengar. And I don't know, JJ, do you run the 2 together? Like, did he run the 2 of them together? Did he put them on the opposite sides and then kind of converge?
I did not actually get to see or play against them this round here, but my guess is they probably run them together. Yeah.
I mean, Dengar is good at jousting things if people joust him as well.
Yeah.
But really, it's not hard to turn right and get behind him.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's kind of the catch-22, right? Because you want to be aggressive with Dengar, so that way you can be aggressive, or you can punish rather. But at the same time, once they get behind you, then Dengar starts losing its effectiveness. So you got to find that right balance and use them as that. You basically herd people towards the front of Dengar, and then from there, you use the rest of your list to help support Dengar and help soften him up, so that way Dengar can take him out at initiative 6.
Yeah, you got 1 get out of jail with contraband 4K with Dengar, and then after that, it's going to get a little bit uphill battle there.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next store champ, Recess Games in Ohio, which Alex should have gone to and did not. Because
easily could have came in second.
He was just tired, I guess. I don't know what to say to that one. So this one, Ablazoned, which is, I can't remember the gentleman's first name. It's Tim, right?
No, it's Nate May.
It's what? Matt May. That's right.
Nate May.
Yeah. Nate. Yeah,
great guy.
So, yeah, Nate hosted when we did, I don't remember what we called it, but when we did the team tournament at Recess way back last year, which I hope they actually do another one this year, because that was a fun time, and I hope they release information, even if it's not like prize support stuff. Like, just tell us when it is, because I actually got to plan that trip because it's all the way in Ohio. And this time, maybe the East Coast and West Coast won't get separate Airbnbs. We can all just share one large Airbnb, and we can all cast our vote on whether Thai food is amazing or not. But that was a whole argument. They all had to have Chipotle, and I don't eat Chipotle. I don't eat it. It makes me sick every time. I'm not gonna eat.
Is it the cilantro?
It's definitely not cilantro. It's probably because they are unclean and they've been shut down how many damn times because of that. At least in Michigan.
I was gonna say probably that store. Yeah, probably that store.
I don't know.
You made it sound like it's not kosher.
I just know they make me sick every time, so I personally do not run or eat there. But anyway. So let's go ahead and dive into the list. Alex, which list do you want to take? You want to take the winner or the runner up?
It's very on theme for me to take the runner up, so I'll do that. JJ, do you want to go over Nate's list?
So the first stuff here, the winner here, we have a resistance list here. We got Elo Atsi with Crackshot R68, which I believe that's the bullseye droid, if I'm not mistaken. Ni Num with Marksmanship, Pattern Analyzer, BB-8 Crew, Integrated S-Foils, and HLC. Next up is Zori Bliss with Marksmanship, Dorsal Turret, R4 Astromech, Wartime Loadout, and Mag Pulse Warheads. And then Poe Dameron with Crackshot, R4, Electronic Baffle, Overdrive Thrusters, Integrated S-Foils, Black One Title, and Proton Torpedoes to round off this list. Side note, and kind of a early segue over to what we're going to discuss later on. Would you guys consider this to be an Alpha Strike list?
Man, it's probably as close as you're going to get to one in a 4-ship resistance list.
Yeah.
But just knowing how Nate plays, he's been playing like Flyboy Poe for basically as long as I've known him, and he's very good at it.
Yeah.
He doesn't straight joust people. Like, he doesn't actually need to Alpha Strike people. He just has the potential to do so.
And
Yeah.
I will note, in Rust Cup, I was his only loss. So he made that very known when we went to dinner. I was like, sorry, man. Sorry. And I don't even think our team needed it. That I think we lost that anyway, so it's inconsequential. So I don't know if I would consider this an Alpha Strike list, JJ. I'll be honest with you, because I don't think you fly all these ships together. I feel this is more of an AC list, because you have I5s and I6s. And that's probably more. I don't know, because I've only played Nate once. I didn't get to play him at Worlds at all. So to me, this feels more of like an Ace style list.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, Zori ain't going to be acing things off the board, but yeah, I mean, like, Poe will definitely outmaneuver you pretty much at every go.
And the reason I ask is because, with Zori, you definitely want to fly her close, right? Even if it's not like right next to somebody, but if you want to get the ability off to have her like double mod, then you want her close by to be able to make sure she has the opportunity to use her abilities for double mod. So, but yeah, I definitely like this list the way it feels. I mean, this is apparently nobody told Nate that Falcon Poe is the way that he should have ran, but he did really, really well with this.
He ran Flyboy Poe at Worlds. He was the top performer out of last qualifier.
Nice, well done.
Yeah. Also, for something really cheeky, you can Zori boost in the system phase when 9-Nub does his BB-8 boost, and that's pretty cool.
That's great.
I'm not sure if he did it, but that's cool.
That's disgusting. Stop it. All right, Alex, who was our runner-up? J-Bark.
Another scum list. Look at that. They had Boss with expert handling and marksmanship, Z95, obviously. Dace with Lando shield upgrade and title. Cad Solus with fearless optics and electronic baffle. Joy Rakoff with fearless and ion torps. And Fen Rao with marksmanship, fearless shield upgrade. 3 fangs.
Yep. Good job.
You did it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so both my other co-hosts, Cody and Matt, attended. Cody came in 3rd. Matt came in 4th. They both lost to this guy on the way up.
Wow.
Their only losses were to the scum player, which is hilarious to me. Also, Cody and Matt played 3 of the same people, and Cody got a bye. So all of Cody's games were Matt's opponents.
Wow. Who ended up having the better strength of schedule?
Cody, I believe.
Yeah, you can see it on the screen. Cody by like 6 points or 0.06 points.
Cody also ran Kylo with proton torpedoes.
Yeah, Cody abandoned his original list of. He said he's not running Von Reg anymore, which was hilarious because he was running Von Reg all the time, and he's like, "Nope, I'm done. I'm not running Von Reg."
I told him, "Hey man, why are you running Von Reg? You have Rush," and he's like, "Yeah, but triple silencers. I don't want to be just strictly triple silencers, guys." Then he played in that tournament with Von Reg, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going back to Rush."
Which makes sense, right?
Yeah, Rush shouldn't be one shot, right?
No.
So Von Reg has the possibility of doing that.
All right. So let's move on to the next one. Gritty Goblin. And I don't care where this is. This is literally my favorite name of any store. Just so we all know right now, like I love this name, and I think everybody should rename their stores to cool things.
Has to be in Philadelphia, right? Like that would make the most sense.
I don't know. It is central. It might be central. I don't know. You'd have to look it up. We'll have to look it up later. So this store championship, we had 1-4-0 and 2-3 3-1s, and one of them had a tie. The other one had loss. The winner of that tournament is a Han. It's a Han build with Perceptico Pilot, Chopper Crew, Bistan, Gunner, Engine Upgrade, Millennial Falcon, Keo and Juke, Boy, Luke, and Fenra with Predator, Crackshot, Beskar, Reinforced Plating. A little bit different Fen there with the Predator Crackshot. But I could see why, being that, I-6, right? It gives you some ability to get some of that off there.
Yeah, it's very similar to like what Jeremy Chamberlain brought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Chopper Crew is like, I think that's like the discussion of, do you put Chopper, where do you kind of go with it? Because you can run, what do you run? So if you run Perceptive, Bistan,
you do Trick Shot because Chopper's 1 point, Engine's 3.
Yeah,
so you could take off Trick Shot to put on Chopper and Engine, which I kind of prefer, but we talked about that last week.
Yeah. I went a different round on my build, but yeah.
We don't want to hear about your 2-2 builds.
I could have been a 3-1,
but you weren't. You weren't. I did tell you though. I did tell you when you were messaging me, and I was like, "Yeah, you still could get it, baby. You still get it." Who did I put? Oh, I put money on Dread Champ. That's right. That's who I.
Yeah, you did. You did put money on Dread. Yeah.
Damn it, Dread Champ. All right. Anyway, so JJ, what is this Kyle Katarn list that we see here? We have a Rebel list, and I normally would not cover a second Rebel list, but this one, in fairness, doesn't have Han in it, and now we don't have JJ. So
I can
Alex,
there we go.
Yep,
There
Alex,
we
go ahead.
Yeah, so this has Kyle Katarn in the Hawk with Hopeful Engineer, so Hera with Hopeful and Magpulse, Sabine with Beskar, Benthic with Hopeful, Leia, Perceptive Copilot, and the config, and then Boudica with Predator, Mando Optics, Beskar. I believe this is very similar to what Duncan ran and won his store champ with. Just being that kind of Heratani, I'm Rebels, I don't have ranges, so I'm just going to pass around focuses and evades wherever I want.
Does Kyle not get the Moldy Crow?
He does. I'm assuming that was on there.
All right, so it's just a mistake then on there. Yeah, I can't imagine you not running the Moldy, like,
or he's doing that out of disrespect. Who knows?
I don't want to keep my focuses.
I don't want a full 3-eye front dart.
Yeah,
full 3-die front arc.
Which is this is kind of cool in the aspect of it takes away from the Boudica swarm tactics where somebody's trying to move Boudica up to an I-6 to maximize her ability. I don't know. I kind of like this. This is a little bit more my style. It's weird with Kyle Katarn. I won't lie and say that's weird, but I bet you that support piece is pretty relevant. But the big question I have is, I know Sabine does better with the Beskar reinforced plating, but can't you just put Hopeful, right? Can we not just have Hopeful on her just for thematic sake, right? Like, I'm sure it would never trigger, and it's stupid, but it just feels like it would be a hilarious, like, addition, right?
It would be incredible if that was on the turn where you did that pre-movement boost and then focused for your action, because then you wouldn't be able to do Hopeful at all.
I know, it'd just be kind of cool. So
no,
Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, yeah, the firing priority on this is rough. Like, you don't have I gotta kill it. Like, it's whatever they give you, right? Like, you can't. I don't know what you'd shoot first in this list.
For me, I think the priority here is Kyle.
But if they don't give you Kyle, what if they keep Kyle in the back? I don't,
Yeah, if Kyle's range 4, his ability
Ancient.
still passes.
yeah.
Right, but the potential for, especially with hopeful, right? Hopeful in particular, you're able to get a focus if a ship dies. If Journey is still on the board, that focus can now turn into an evade. Or anytime that you pass off that extra focus over to Hera, at any point of that interaction, whether she passes it to somebody else or you pass it to Hera, you turn it into an evade. So you're able to provide you give yourself a lot of flexibility on the list. So I think taking out Kyle is probably the easiest there. Boudica is obviously another priority target, because most likely you're going to leave Boudica near Kyle and Hera to get those revenge shots on. But you're definitely want to take out that synergy that Kyle and Hera have in this list there. And obviously the other part of it too is flying. If you're able to help spread that formation around rocks or corners, so that way they don't all have the same arc, or they don't have arc on all the same ship, that helps you help your list live a little bit longer, to mitigate this particular list.
Yeah. I would actually put this on the board, I think.
Very good list.
It's just, man, if you shoot Boudica, she's just like, oh, I'm just going to get a free evade from Concordia, right? If you're at range 1, she gets that free evade from Concordia, and you can just get passer and evade from whoever. It's brutal.
That's the classic Rebels. Classic Rebels there. That's, like I said, that to me, that feels so much better than just seeing all this Han, garbage. I'm sure Han would decimate that list, but I don't know. I like that list.
I'm not sure if he puts out enough damage to actually just take that list out, honestly.
Yeah.
So he only got 2 single-modded 3-die shots. I mean, you get essentially best out of 2, but if your second shot's not good, you're still not putting a lot of damage through.
Fair enough. All right, next one is Dragon's Den in California. I don't know where in California. Stockholm, I think. Our very own Sandy showing up here. Thought I would... we're going to cover their list just because it's Sandy. And it's actually a similar-ish list to something I would run that I'm not good at and would immediately lose with. But, JJ, who was our winner and what did they take?
So our winner here is going to be Casey Leone, who flew the Resistance here. Coming in with Elo Atsi with Crackshot R68, Tevin Wexley with Marksmanship Shield Upgrade, Kara Kuhn with Afterburners, Jessica Pava with Ferrosphere Paint BB8 Astromech, and then Nimi Shireen with M9G8 Ferrosphere Paints. And of course, the foils to round off this list. So there's a 5T70 list here that can do a lot of work here. I mean, you got some really beefy T70s that have those 3 shields, or in Temin's case 4 shields, and can put out quite a bit of damage there. They can spread out if they need to, or they can run in a pack. Kara Kuhn can act as that flanker T70, especially with Afterburners, and doing like a hard turn with it is really nice to get into some good spots. And then Nimi is basically your ace hunter, being able to be really accurate against higher initiative ships, and having that N9G8 to assist with rerolls is really good. Overall, a really solid list. This is one of those lists that we previously, or this archetypes, I should say, that we previously discussed as being like a gatekeeper list, and it's really good. It's really solid.
Man, that Kari with Afterburners is so silly. Like, you don't need a talent roll if you just 3 hard 1 boost for free, It's so cool.
Yeah, and this is the discussion that we've always had about the 5T70s, right? Like, we say it's a gatekeeper list, but this list, again, I like Kara. Like, for me, this is kind of cool because, like, we discuss which ones are the best ones to run, right? And, like, I don't know. I like Kara Kuhn a lot. So, I don't like Afterburners as much on her, but
it's so fun.
It is fun. No, I don't disagree with you. It is fun. I like my toys a little bit more, just personally. I like my toys a little bit more. But yeah, you are 100% right. It is fun because you can like do your 3 hard, 1 hard, and essentially like be behind somebody.
You can talon roll and still do the 1 hard boost. Like that's a crazy K turn.
Yeah. So I don't know. the Afterburners I think is a niche thing, but obviously it worked very well for Lionheart. So congratulations to him. Do you want to cover the FO list from Sandy?
Yeah. So it's a 4-ship list, which we've actually been seeing a lot of in these tournaments. It's kind of cool. This has very high initiative. It's 2 6s and 2 5s. You have Von Rag with Lone Wolf, Daredevil, and Deuterium. Quick Draw with Fanatical, Proud Tradition, Deuterium, Special Forces, FCS. Whisper Kylo with Brilliant Evasion, Malice, Predator, Pattern Analyzer, and the Enhanced Jamming Suite config. And then Blackout with Predator, Prime Thrusters, and Sensor Scramblers.
Yeah. I like it. I think
I mean,
Von Reg dies all the time, but I don't know. That's just me.
I have always had the experience that Von Reg dies super fast, but also like Ember and Hollow somehow don't. But for some reason, every time Von Reg's on the table, he just dies. I don't get it.
I don't know. I like this list too. This is like, this would be, if I can win a Sword Champ, this would be something that I'd play with, play around with. So.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was assuming they played each other, right? In the final,
Yeah.
or was that?
Yeah, I believe they played in the final. Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
So you have a 5, 2 4s, a 3, and a 2 taking out a list of 2 6s and 2 5s, which is pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, it just shows that, even though you could have like high initiative aces on your list there, if there are enough guns on target and they are, if your opponent's unable to reliably take down a ship per turn per engagement, they can easily gang up on those unmodded aces and take them down, because green dice are green dice. They'll fail you 9 times out of 10. So.
Yeah, I feel like Quick Draw has a real uphill battle against 5T70s, especially. Like you're probably not going to alpha one of these things off the board with your initiative.
Yeah.
All right. Next one, Tin Squadron, coming in from the UK here. They had 1-4-0 and 4 3-1s. So that's crazy. It was a little bit larger of a tournament. I think there was like 23 or something like that. People. There's a lot of people for this one. So the winner was another FO list with Bonreg, Daredevil, Shield Upgrade, because you almost need marksmanship. Quick Draw with Afterburners, which is definitely, we didn't see Afterburners on the other one, did we? Nope.
No, we haven't seen Afterburners and Quick Draw in a long time.
So this one's kind of the weird cagey one. Anyway, Special Forces Gunner, Proud Tradition, and FCS. Lieutenant Hughes with Advanced Optics, Special Forces Gunner, and Proud Tradition. Malorus with Clusters, and then Scorch with Clusters, which is the Bomber, by the way, with Clusters, Feedback Ping, and Bomblet Generator. Definitely a little bit different than what we've seen before. We have seen that Scorch make top in a couple other tournaments as well.
Also in the UK.
Also in the UK? Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, they love their Scorch Bomber, I guess.
They do. I don't know. I've never
there
put
wasn't
it on the
another
table.
better Scorch.
Yeah, I've never put it on the table. And I think, like in here, what do you do? I mean, if you do that, then you have an extra point. The problem is because you don't have Kylo. If Kylo Silencer was like 6 points, that would be an easy, switch. But what do? You like, I don't know. Anyway, so it's cool. I kind of like it. It's definitely different. I don't know about Afterburn Quick Draw though. Like, not having Pattern Analyzer just feels bad to me personally.
When 2.0 first came out, and I guess FO first came out in 2.0, a lot of people did put Afterburners on Quick Draw once she got the mod slot, and that was some people saw some success with that. And it's respectable. Like your 3 hearts red, right? So you still get a boost after that. Or you do,
which is cool. Yeah. Like I like that. I do like that.
Yeah.
I've never ran an Afterburners quick draw before, I guess. So I don't know. Maybe it'd be kind of cool.
I mean, it
Oh,
could be a very
Wait, you
aggressive
can't
quick draw.
Afterburners
Yeah.
after a 1 hard because it's got to be a 3 speed.
No,
or
you're
higher.
3 hard.
No.
Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I
3
switched the
hard or
difficulties.
sloop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 3 hard is white. The 1 hard's red.
Okay.
Yes. I guess I'll take the second place list because, or sorry, no, unique list. Still scum, not second place. We're good.
Yeah, that's second place. This time,
Technically, same score as second place, just with almost half the strength of schedule. Jeez, look at that guy's strength of schedule, 2 1/4. That's rough. His scum list was Maul in the Gauntlet with Brilliant Evasion, Fearless, IGD, Lando, Overtune Modulators, Night Brother in this config. And you have Dengar with Expert Handling, Greedo, Contraband Punishing 1, and R4B11. And then Han with Trick Shot, Concussion Missiles, the Mandalorian, the Child, Agile Gunner, and Lando's Millennium Falcon title. 2 6s and a 5. Maul's ability is literally useless. And that is actually a slightly different Han that you normally see. I've seen a lot of people take Greedo and rigged cargo on him, but since you already have Greedo and Dengar, I guess you can take concussion missiles. At least you get 3 dice that way for once.
I'm confused by this list. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't know. It looks fun, but I must not be a good scum player because like this doesn't like I don't think I would run this. I just don't think I would.
I mean, what with the Lando? No, Lando's primary title, so you still only get 5 dice with that concussion missile. You can't get the legendary 6 if you shoot it obstructed with Han's ability.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Maul here, you're ignoring the ability here. You're not really using Maul for his ability. You're using him for his 3 force. You're using him for fearless. You're using for IG-88D. You're only basically ever doing double calculates, and then you're re-rolling on defense or offense with Lando by spending a single calc. So this is a very, very accurate Maul that's able to cover a lot of ground, a large base, which is going to be really dominant in assault, and it's an I5, so it's going to be able to do a lot of damage, especially if Han Solo and Dengar are softening up targets for Maul. He's going to be able to punch in quite a lot of damage in really, really accurate shots there. The Han Solo being able to have 2 force that can regen for 9 points, that's really good for Han. And he's also able to basically concentrate on his maneuvers and do scenario objectives, since he has Agile Gunner, which allows him to rotate the arc, and already has the passive mods with the Child. So yeah, really solid. I actually probably would have considered leaving off concussion missiles and just use the primary, but sometimes you just need that side to side arc and then just out the front with concussion missiles, and that way you have basically a 270-degree arc. So it's good.
Yeah, and also remember that IGD and like those kind of upgrades, they add calculate to your action bar.
Mhm.
So when you bump, you can do the red double calculate with IGD because it is on
That's
your
right.
action bar. You have a choice between the focus or the calculates. And by and large, it'd be better for the calculates in this. So
And I wonder if I can get that added to Volan Das. That would be cool. Anyway, let's keep moving. Atlas Store Championship. I believe this is also UK as well. This one had a weird. I don't know why Alex Britt didn't play in the top cut. I don't know. I just know he didn't. So therefore, the top cut did not have Alex Britt in it. So that throws a little bit off. Also, his SOS is NAN, so like I don't know what that means.
I think that's just messed up because he dropped, right? So your strength schedule's weird.
Okay.
Thing.
And that's the only thing I could think of. So another rebel. Another
Look
rebel.
more
JJ.
4-ship lists.
Yeah, JJ. What is the rebel winner here? I get no offense. I don't want to diminish anybody's. I'm just whatever. Anyway,
Sure. So we got another variation on Han Solo here. We got Trick Shot, Perceptive Co-Pilot, and Baston with the title. Hera with Swarm Tactics in the A-Wing, and then Fen Rao with Crack Shot, Predator, Best Card Reinforced Plating, and then Bodica Venge with Predator, Mandalorian Optics, and Best Card Reinforced Plating. This is essentially a quad I6 list. With the exception of Bodica, who moves at I4, but is always going to be paired with Hera, being able to shoot at I6, and most likely going to get double modded most of the time with just using Hera's mods on this one here. It's definitely really hard to try to counter this, mainly because you have 4 shots coming at you at I6. You have to play the bump game really, really well to have a chance to really take advantage of this. But even then, it's difficult to deal with 4 I6s on the list. So it's really good.
Yeah, I mean that poor Hera's not really doing too much in that list. Like, I think it's just there, literally there to make Bodica much better with that swarm tactics, because
Yeah.
you're not putting out offense. You're not like you're not giving tokens to anyone. You're just there.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could just evade every turn, right? And then if they shoot at someone else, you just give them evade. I guess
All right. And Alex, what is the top unique list that I chose from Robbie?
Another 4-ship list, this time in Resistance. Actually, pretty close to what I told Matt to fly. You have Rey with Heroic, Rose, Novice Tech, Finn, Engine, and the title. I still don't get Engine over Contraband, but that's just me. LO with Marksmanship, Heroic, M9G8. 9 Nub with Heroic, Pattern Analyzer, R6D8 in HLC. And then Zori with Dorsal, R4, Wartime, and Plasma Torps. It's a pretty straightforward, really heavy hitting list. I assume you actually just M9 Rey, which is pretty cool because you could just add the Finn die and then reroll it with M9G8. You don't have to give yourself a die out of the Rose die. Yeah. So that hits really hard, and it's 4 I5s. I like that 9 nub. Yeah, I mean,
it kind of sucks. Like if they played each other in the last round, right? Like 4 I6s going against 4 I5s.
They didn't.
I mean, this matchup, like, it kind of sucks, right? Because you're like, dang, man, I'm never going to shoot first against these I6s. Like,
fine, Ray, we'll just run through those Fang fighters, but at least they didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, I believe that's all the store champs we have for today, and that's a lot of 4-ship lists, which is kind of going against what you'd expect, considering more than half the field is 5-ship lists.
I think what we're seeing here is just a reaction to the meta, right? Early on we were seeing a big concentration of like 4 ships and getting like a quick little objective grabber here. Here, I think the shift that we're seeing now is more of making sure that you're getting quality ships for the 4 ships, even if you have to sacrifice that 2-point objective grabber. And in the process, your list performs a little bit more consistently than the rest of the list, where you're sacrificing loadout points for like more expensive ships for like just having more bodies on the ground. So yeah, I think that's what at least what we're seeing for the shift of the meta so far.
Yeah, and if you actually look at like the Pattern Analyzer website, 4-ship lists have actually been increasing in the since the points updates. 24%. Last month is 25%. The last weekend was 30% of the lists are brought at 4-ship lists, which is it's an interesting trend. That the ship count's going slightly down. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So that was our Pattern Analyzer segment. So many bloody tournaments. I'm sad we don't have one next weekend. I I'm really sad about that. It's not anyone's fault. It's just I was looking forward to that, though I haven't been practicing a lot. But I had been looking forward to that, and actually I've been debating on, do I just swerve to Rebels to try to win? Like, do I just be a dick? I'm like, yeah.
See, I was going to the opposite. I was actually going to run my scum list in Muskegon.
I know. Well, you could come out. We could still play in Muskegon. You still want to play? If you're going to be in Muskegon anyway, we could probably still play next Saturday.
Yeah, hit me up. I'll be in Muskegon. So.
Yeah, because there's stuff like maybe I'll post. Well, after this, remind me after we finish up tonight, and I'll post in our Michigan Discord. Maybe we will get a group of people together just to play for the hell of playing. I don't know if we have enough people. I'll just take one of the store kits from out of the box and do an impromptu one. Like, we have to have a bunch of people. It can't just be 4 of us. But
I think they lack the space. That's why they had to cancel it, or postpone it.
Yeah, what happened was they ended up running out of. There's a Pokemon tournament every other weekend there, and they didn't have it on the schedule. And when they scheduled it, unfortunately, they didn't. The guy just scheduled us and then didn't say anything until like 2 weeks ago, and then was like, "Oh, by the way," and we're like, "Well."
Thanks for the short notice.
I had a triple Vader list that I submitted, 21 points, all 3 Vaders.
Oh my god, I hate you. But maybe we should just get together and play for the hell of playing. Maybe it'd be fun. I don't know. It might be fun, right?
Yeah, I'd love it.
So I'll be around next Saturday. As of now, I don't have anything planned. So at minimum, maybe you and I could get together and play. Even maybe if we had to go to Grand Haven or something like that, if we don't have room in the Muskegon store. But we can always go someplace and play. So we get some games in for you, Alex. That's what we'll do. You can beat me with your scum list 17 times and then determine that's what you want to run. So
I'm not going to run that list. It's the jankiest thing I've ever put together.
You're going to run it. I'm telling you right now. All right. So why don't we move on to the last segment for tonight? And then we do have, okay, I guess I'm going to say it now before any of the viewers leave. We do have a special like after show thing that we're going to plan around 10:30ish. I know Alex is not a fan of this, so he's welcome to stay if he wants. But we are going to have the Ahsoka trailer, and JJ and I are going to go through that tonight with some of our thoughts. I didn't want to make a whole new episode, blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to go through it, and I didn't want to drag Alex through all of that because Alex is not the largest fan of Star Wars TV shows. So I did not want to force him to sit through that for a half hour while JJ and I talk about why I think he's wrong about the Thrawn arc for 30 minutes. So
no, he's blue.
We knew he's blue before. Come on. That's not even controversial. We know he has red eyes too. Did you know that? Did you know he had red eyes?
Yes.
Did you know he was my favorite character ever in Star Wars?
That doesn't
surprise me. He also launched the company Tesla as well.
Oh.
All right. Hold on. JJ no longer can talk. All right. So let's move on to our Academy 101 segment for tonight. Tonight, for our Academy 101, we are going to be covering list archetype analysis, where we deep dive into specific archetypes. Tonight, we're going to be covering the Alpha Strike archetype, which we defined as lists that composed of ships that carry ordnance to strike from range 3 to deny range bonuses and attempt to eliminate the enemy as quick as possible. These lists tend to prioritize engagement versus concentrating on objective play. So we've been going through this series. Essentially what we've been doing is kind of dissecting the weaknesses and strengths of each of these archetypes. We talked about them on a high level before, and now what we decided to do, and I should put those videos up, but now what we decided to do is deep dive into each of the different archetypes. So with that being said, tonight we're going to be breaking down the Alpha Strike. And what we're going to kind of attempt to accomplish is what lists fit into this archetype, right? what are the countering archetypes or countering measures for this list, and then we can kind of talk a little bit about, where we feel these play into the meta. Now, the guys have submitted some lists for us, and I will say, I altered a few lists a little bit, and I kind of took a combination of everything because JJ gave me like 8 lists and Alex gave me 3, and I didn't want to just like put everybody's out there. So that's we're going to kind of go through each of these different types of lists for it. With that being said, the first one, I don't know who submitted this one. Alex did, actually. And so the first one is a Vader, 3 bombers, and a Vizier list. Very common archetype that we've actually been seeing earlier tonight. And this list does consistent damage. It has an Alpha Strike. Even though Vader doesn't have an ordnance, Vader's ability might as well be an ordnance. And this is essentially going to be a very fast striking list with either a flanker ship or one that's part of the mix, as well as one support ship. Alex, why don't you tell us what this list is?
Okay, so I will start off with saying that Alpha Strike lists are really hard to build right now because a lot of loadouts got slashed across the board. But I think this list, which you do see around, is probably the most common kind of Alpha Strikey list. Granted, it's more of a, you're shooting at I4 with Jonas and Reimer, but it's just the ability to shoot double modded barrage rockets by just having a focus token and then saturation salvoing their defense. It really hits like an alpha list. You could definitely wipe off ships. You're probably not going to initiative kill him, which, kind of sucks for an Alpha Strike list. That's kind of why you're bringing it. But you will most likely take a ship off, at least on the opening engagement. In this list also, you have Palpatine on Vizier for defense for your I4s if, they're trying to strip off your focus tokens or whatnot. So it's just 3 bombers, triangle or box formation, and then just Vader. It's the boy Vader, so his ability basically means just roll 3 dice and change them all to hits. So it just it's hard, and that's the whole spirit of the Alpha Strike list.
Yeah, and the nice part about this too, right, is that if you can range control this very well, you can effectively use those. What you want to do is use these TIE bombers to shoot at range 3 to help deny those mods or that additional defensive type for the target that you're tending to go to, and then use saturation salvo as well to help them reroll any natural evades that they have on there. What's also particularly good with this list as well too is just having that threat of Vader. You're either gonna force your opponent to deal with Vader or deal with the incoming saturation salvo barrage rocket shots that can really mess up your opponent. And if you decide to split fire, this list is gonna tear you up there really fast.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about countering this list, right? So there obviously is some counters to this list, though this list kind of has a multifaceted strike piece to it, right? Like the bombers can move slow enough that they can get you at the range 3, then range 2. In a 6-round tournament, like 2 rounds plus your engagement, your initial round, like you can avoid losing a bunch of bombers, right? But there has to be something to counter this, right? So Vader is probably not your target priority in this list unless they serve Vader up to you. If they give you Vader, murder him. Do not let him live. But most people who fly this list are not going to just give you Vader. Vader is going to fly over here. It's a little bit different than how JJ was flying Vader with Mauler. And in this list, Vader wants to be more independent and wants to in my opinion, he wants to be that flanker, right? He wants to be able to come in. So if you choose to go all in on Vader, then here comes Vizier and your bombers to punish you for that. And if you ignore Vader, Vader is going to come around and punish you for ignoring him. And then you're going to get stuck dealing with Vader in the end game, which we all know very rarely does Vader die in the end game. You have to commit to killing Vader pretty early on. So what is a good counter to this list?
I5, okay, just jamming in general.
Yeah.
Is very strong. I know Crispy last week was talking about, the list he was running has 2 I5 jamming ships, and those just wreck bombers. False transponder codes is 5 points now. You don't see it too much, but I know Matt was flying it on his Poe just in case. He's just like, oh, if there's a bomber there, I'm just gonna boost and then lock him, and then he no longer has his focus for the barrage rockets. And then he's gonna eat a lot of crits. So that's the easiest, biggest counter to that.
Yeah, definitely. The jam is such a critical tool in removing the focuses for these ships there. Now, a good player for this list will most likely set up the initial target lock, so that way they can at least help mitigate some of the jam. But if you can stick with it, removing the possibility of them to be able to shoot those barrage rockets, you turn off the ability for them to use saturation salvo, which gives you a chance to at least give your dice a little bit of power to help bail you out from those situations there, because that's really what lies at the heart of this particular list, is making you re-roll those defensive dice, especially if you roll natural evades, and then losing those evades to saturation salvo. That can really hurt your chances to doing it. The other part of it too is range control, being able to engage these bombers at range 1. Yes, they're still throwing 3 dice at you, but now they don't have the ability to use saturation salvo to take care of it, with the exception of Reimer. Reimer can reduce the range requirement for this barrage rocket down to range 1, but at least in terms of atomics and for Jonas, you're able to at least negate that part of that list.
Yeah, Staniszewski often talks about just jumping range with his Vantex and stuff, approaching at range 4 and then just 5 straighting, and now you're range 1.
Yeah,
and that's pretty good. Just jumping range on these ships. I mean, I guess there's also a really niche thing if you have hot shotgunner equipped, force them to spend the focus on defense. But you don't really see many lists with that upgrade in there.
Yeah.
I would also say objective play, right? I think objective play, these ships want their focuses, they don't want to take objective action. So a assault, it very well benefits this list, but crates do not benefit this list at all. You can easily strip crates off of every ship but Vader. Vader is the only one you would have to worry about. And how often does Vader pick up a crate? Not very often, because Vader doesn't want to not be able to afterburner. So,
yeah.
Anyway, so I think objective play is the biggest thing in the world.
And also crit generation, specifically in this list, because those bombers don't have shields. And they burn real fast when they get crits in there.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to the next Alpha Strike list that we have. This one, we have 2 submissions. So JJ gave me 2 Rebel Alpha Strike lists. I picked one. He's not getting the other one. They are very similar. One is a different style of archetype. But then Alex gave me one, and they literally both had B-Wings in them. So I was like, all right, screw this. We are going to go cover both of them in some weird shape or form, right? Because both these lists share very similar qualities. They have good synergy. Both these lists have a different style of synergy that goes into it. Both of these lists can maximize the points used for their aggressive shots. Just a little bit different variance in play style. One has a Y-Wing, which doesn't want to go very fast at all. But Horton is a sleeper that I think people sleep on Horton quite a bit. Except for Sean. Sean, I don't know. Damn it, I had to play against Horton. I've had to play so many games against Horton. I hate him. I hate Horton. And I always say it's Horton here's a who every time. Every time it's like, hey, who's over there? Oh, Horton's over there. Anyway, so I feel both these lists kind of mirror each other in some aspects. So JJ, why don't you cover your list real quick first, and then we'll have Alex go over his list next.
All right. So the first one, I believe, is mine. The first list that we have here is going to be Harrison Dula in the B Wing. We have her with proton cannons, ion torpedoes, weapon systems officer, and the title that allows her to equip the weapon systems officer. I'll come back to that combo in a second. Wedge Antilles in the X-Wing with elusive and plasma torpedoes, Corran Horn with elusive concussion missiles, and then Horton Psalm with R3 astromech and cluster missiles, and then Keo Venzi with proton rockets to finish off this list here. So essentially the combo for Hera, what makes her really good with this list is that she helps enable potential shots for this one, for other ships to use. So Hera can use the ion torpedo first at I6, spend the lock, and then regain it with weapon system officer, then spend that lock again to get that proton cannon shot off if she has somebody in bullseye. If she doesn't have it, then she still has that lock available to pass on to another ship. Now, the key part here is that if somebody is engaging Hera or one of the other ships and she has a lock on that person, while they defend, she can transfer that lock onto that particular ship, onto that friendly that's being engaged, because she can pass off either her locks or her focus tokens or evade tokens over to that particular ship there. So you can essentially enable one of your ships that might not have a lock to now engage and shoot a torpedo or a missile off on that particular ship at their initiative there. And with the Wedge being able to reduce their agility, the plasma torpedo is an excellent choice to help reduce their shields and then start getting some face down or face up damages with concussion missiles to flip. And then Keo, of course, to get that proton rocket to beat that finishing punch for that list.
Alex?
Okay, yeah. So this other one that I have here, they're all except for Sabine, they're all I5. So that's where the alpha kind of comes in. You got Boy Luke, because just take a lock and you got a double modded Protorp. You have Corran with Mag Pulse, R3 marksmanship, because he can shoot first. All you have to do is lock Corran, shoots a Mag Pulse, super good. You have Ahsoka in the A-Wing with Patience, Instinctive, Concussion Missiles, Predator. You can give Corran Horn a focus token after he does the lock, or, after you do the Ahsoka things. So you can have a double modded Corran shot, shoot the Mag Pulse, jam them, give them deplete, and then shoot a Protorp at them. And then Instinctive Aim, Concussion Missile. You also have Gina with Synced Laser Cannons and Plasma Torps. So you can most likely probably lock Corran Horn with Gina, shoot the Mag Pulse, shoot the Plasmas. And then if they're still alive somehow, shoot the Proton Torpedoes. And then you have Sabine because you have 2 points.
So what's interesting here is JJ has an A-Wing with Prockets, and Alex has 0 Prockets in his list. I'm just saying. No Prockets.
I really wanted Corran Horn to have a Procket in here, but I wanted to make an I5 not less skill based, we'll say. More consistent for the cog in that machine. That's that degenerate I5 Alpha Strike list there.
Yeah, and I will say, like, if I had to take kind of a mashup between the 2 lists, I think I do not like elusive on Corran Horn at all. Personally, I would not do that. I do like concussion missiles on Corran Horn. But the Mag Pulse just feels better to be able to strip tokens for the next shot in. Like, that's, like, in fairness, it probably feels better, but I like concussion missiles a lot. Like,
if you have like the 2 I6s like JJ does, you don't need the Mag Pulse.
Yeah.
But in this case, you probably shoot first with Corran.
All right. So what are counters to this list? So I'm just gonna put jamming on here.
It's a little bit harder to jam these lists though, just because they have redundancies kind of built in there. Like if you jam Corran Horn, you jam off 1 lock. or his focus.
Well, for me, I think the way to counter these lists is positioning, right? Because the player on this one here is trying to set their trying to set the majority of the ships to focus on a single target, so that way they're able to concentrate fire and get as much as the time on target on a single target there, right? So if you're able to just not joust this particular list directly and pull them in through the various objectives or obstacles on the board, then you have a better chance of negating that super powered punch that they have, and hopefully be able to take down some of their ships sooner rather than later, and be able to break apart the efficiency of this list. The other part of it as well is just, again, objective play. Objective play is so huge on this one. Just being able to force your opponent to try to make up their points by putting them behind the ball, in terms of like having them run behind on objective points, either whether it be like through salvage or scramble. If you're forcing them to scramble instead of taking a target lock, then you're already reducing the effectiveness of their torps, or their ability to shoot torps in this list.
Yeah, and like these have B wings, right, and X wings, so they're not like the most maneuverable ships. So if you spread out and like start taking objectives, it's kind of hard for them to recover from that kind of stuff. They're not going to be able to keep their mobility up.
Yeah.
And as you know, as maneuverable as Kyo and Ahsoka are, they're probably not going to be outputting enough damage to scare people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and not to mention I3, and they're likely to die together. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, texting the kid. All right, next one that we have, I dumped JJ's Alpha Strike list because I don't agree with him at all in the Separatist faction that was an Alpha Strike list. I think he just is messing with. That's what I feel. He had like a double scimitar Alpha Strike list, and I was like, nope.
Yeah,
With
bringing it back
Valen.
to 2018.
Yeah.
Hey, if you get two I5s on there, especially a double modded proton torpedo from Maul, I mean, it's doing its job. You know, it's killing in a single shot.
Oh, I'm all about it. I just
Okay.
I wouldn't call that an Alpha Strike list.
Yeah. So
if you could get 4 I5s, I mean, come on.
Nope. All right, we're gonna move on. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna give you that one. Like, I will give you a lot of things, but that one I can't do. All right. So I made a Separatist Alpha Strike list. This one is a heavy munition strike list. It does not have the greatest maneuverability. Let's just be honest with you, because it's Separatist. But they do get some very unique movements, and they have 36 health to chew through. The list boasts multiple munition strikes and gives a coordinator and Kraken to help save calculates. So, the list I came up with in Separatist is the 404 SOC version, which has the APT and the override struck lock, so it can't sit on a rock, which is okay, because really with an Alpha Strike, you're not going to want to sit on a bunch of rock. You're not going to do that. Then I have two of the Bactoid prototypes, both with discords and energy shells and independent calculates. Then I have DBS 32C with the plasmas and the strut lock overrides, which is essentially the same thing as the SOC version. Then I put two HMPs in there. Now, hear me out. Normally, we would not say they're Alpha Strikey material, but one of them has Discord missiles and energy shells, and Hondo, so you get your coordinate. The other one has Kraken and multi-missile pods. And yes, you could change multi-missile pods out for cluster missiles. You can change it out to a proton cannon, which I don't know why the hell you would do that, but you could technically do that. But this gives you the ability to save your calculates on the ships that need them. It gives you the ability to have so many munitions, it's not even funny. And you can share calculates between 2 out of the 4 ships. And then on top of that, you can turn around and have these lists with the HMPs so they circle the sides of the board. Now, the variance to this is you could get rid of your independent calculates on the Boctoid prototypes and just leave your normal network calculates, which is probably better. And then you could just change that to either electronic baffle, which seems silly, but you could do that, or you could go with your FTC. Because the Boctoid bomber does technically have an ability, you just don't trigger it very often. So it is there. It is there. You just don't. You almost never trigger it. So
That's right.
all right, go ahead, guys. What is your thoughts?
One sad missed opportunity for the Onderon oppressor to run electrochaff missiles, which
No.
really would have been really devastating.
No.
I understand why you have Hondo.
Fair enough. You can do that. You could do that, but I think it weakens Celeste a little bit there. That's all.
My only question is, who are you alpha striking? Because like your I4 and DBS 404 and everyone's else, what, 3 and under? It's just not quite an alpha strike. It's heavy munitions.
Well, you have all similar-ish initiatives, and you essentially, by the time everybody shoots at you, you get to shoot back. So there you go. Like, they have to pick a ship to wipe off the board to begin.
Yeah, that's true.
So the difference is, I understand the logic in saying an alpha strike has to be able to clear somebody off the board ahead of time, but I don't agree 100% with that. And I think if we go back to the old videos that we made, a lot of it is, can you clear a certain type of ship? So for example, you're going to force ships to outmaneuver you, is what you're going to do. And they're not going to get opportune shots, meaning you're going to get to live longer. And if you do well enough with the HMPs, you can use them as blocking material for them. So if you were to take this against like that Cornhorn list or whatever, they may take one of these off the board. That's a possibility, but you're also going to be able to take one of their ships off the board as well. They're not going to take multiples off the board all the time.
Yeah, this feels like an enhanced like droid swarm list almost. It just this time you're just doing it with these more tankier hyenas and the HMP to go on there. Although if I'm trying to counter this list, priority number one for me will probably be Kraken, followed by Hondo on this one. And the worst part of it too is that it's like you almost can't really spare a shot against going against the discords. So if you get a discord on you, I mean, you have to make the choice between trying to shoot that discord off or trying to take out one of these ships.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like a counter to this is just it is pretty low initiative across the board. So having like accurate, high damage, like high initiative shots like Ray, like that Ray, Aloe, Zori, 9-nub list we saw, that has a lot of like potential just to wipe off a hyena or two.
Yeah.
Or at least the very least, making me calculate tokens up, even though they're going to have a fair bit. But they are pretty good against jamming. This is one of the alpha strikes that you don't really like. Jamming doesn't really affect it too much. It's because you have multiple calculate tokens by and large. So you're not going to like jamming something with independent calculation doesn't mean much. Or,
Yeah.
you know, when they're holding stuff with Kraken, you're not really doing a lot there.
Yeah, and the other part too is like they don't have the same like restriction that you normally have with like torpedo shots and target locks, right? Like if you have a low initiative, it's harder for you to get a target lock on your desired target. This you just have to point them at an angle and create a box. And as long as you have that calculate token to shoot off that missile, that's all you need, basically.
Yeah, I think the other issue that this has is I think this does objectives very well personally. And time on target with this list is the biggest initiative. So if you have an ability to dance around this list, after you take out a few of the ships, then you're okay. You know, and I'll use Anakin as an example of Anakin can get behind you, get rid of his stress, and then, you know, be able to shoot you and murder one of those ships in a round. So being able to outmaneuver this list is a big thing, and bombs. Bombs will murder this list. All right.
Or any crit generation too, because none of them.
Yep. Crit generation. Yep. That's the other big issue with that list. All right. So the next one is a scum list, which is a little bit different for Alpha Strike. This is a JJ interpretation. And then I decided to say, JJ, I don't like all of your stuff. So I'm going to change it a little bit. Scum does get a few options. Manaru can kind of go both ways, so I'll go through mine first because we can talk about it, and then JJ can go through his. But there is synergy in both of these lists that typically will be a little bit different style of synergy you don't always get in Scum style lists. So the first list, I kept Surisu the same as JJ. It's Swarm Tactics, Cutthroat, Plasmas, Genesis Red with Protons and Cutthroat. But I changed the Y-Wing out, and I went with Azari, which I think is hilarious because Azari gets... Once Azari's damage can change a blank to a hit, or a focus to a hit automatically. So it's like a fearless, and it doesn't matter what it is. I left targeting synchronizer on it, but I removed the dorsal turret and put cluster missiles and R3 astromech on there for an aspect of you essentially get a soft mod on your cluster missiles. And I know people are going to laugh because nobody uses this ship ever. But I think this ship is hilarious and I love it. And this is one of my favorite things about this Scum ship. And I really wish this would see more play with it. Then I changed my Dirge up because I don't agree with Dirge not having contraband. I don't understand how you run Dirge without contraband. And I think Crack Shot was great when it was 3 points. But at 4 points, it's worthless to me. So, I don't know. I like the contraband, protons, Crack Shot when it was 3. But I in this case, I did the electronic baffle. You could also change that up to a different, 2 point. You could put Cutthroat on there if you really want. Cutthroat does technically still work with proton cannons, so you could use it. Somebody dies, you could Cutthroat and still get your, proton cannons back a second round, which, in fairness, can be pretty devastating. If we're thinking it through. And then Manaru, I decided to put Gar Saxon on and lower him to plasma torpedoes. And honestly, I don't even know if you need the plasma torpedoes. I left it on there for the Alpha Strike value, but in reality, you could probably move those away. Like Gar Saxon being able to remove some sort of a token allows you to be able to shoot the 3 to 4 dice all the time. Like you get to shoot those dice. But I did put the plasma torpedoes on because, in fairness, if you are able to Swarm Tactics Manaru up to an I5, that does benefit you if you want to strip shields ahead of time.
First, yeah.
Yes. JJ,
I like it.
what is your take on my list?
So I do like the changes. I was really going back and forth between Contraband and Crackshot on my Dirge. I actually didn't think about putting Crackshot and Cutthroat on there because the other part of it as well, if you don't have any charges to recover on Dirge, is removing red tokens or an orange token. So if you have an enemy that has a lock on one of your ships, you can essentially, or on the ship that has Cutthroat, you can essentially use Cutthroat to remove that lock, which could potentially save one of your ships on there. Or if they're ionized, you can help remove that, and that way they can regain their ability to move as normal and have regular actions as needed on that. Same thing with tractors as well. I mean, that's huge, especially when you're dealing now with Sunfac and the Nantex on the table. But for my list here, very similar to yours, Sirisu with Cutthroat, Swarm Tactics, and Plasma Torpedoes, Genesis Red with Cutthroat and Proton Torpedoes, Lima Kai I put on there. I have her as a spotting type, like a spotter essentially, to help enable Manaru to be able to shoot that proton torpedo out there. And in the event that Manaru doesn't have a target lock on there, being able to essentially potentially have Lima ability trigger to get a lock on an enemy ship is really good. And being able to have it with R3 Astromech having 2 locks available gives Manaru options to shoot that proton torpedo off at I3. And if you're already taking 3 other shots before you get to Manaru and shooting that proton torpedo, most likely you're getting a kill shot with Manaru with proton torpedo. And even though you don't have the full reroll effect from a target lock, having R4 be R4 811 to have that passive reroll is really nice to make the proton torpedo almost as accurate as if you were shooting it with a target lock. So it's that's how I decided to run this list.
Oh, so you don't need proton torpedoes on Manaru if you have Gar-Saxon and targeting synchronizer, right? Because you can just remove the targeting synchronizer lock and just roll 4 dice anyways.
That's true. I didn't think that.
You just have R4, R5, B8 to just do the one reroll, so you don't actually need the proton torpedoes if you're trying to set it that way.
That's fair.
I like the Gar-Saxon. He does make it a little bit difficult for an Alpha Strike list because you can only get locks in the front, which is good when you're jousting, but it's difficult after that. I just don't see the use for torpedoes on Manaru. I know it's like an Alpha Strike. I don't know. Manaru is really good at giving people double mods, though, because you can pass off the focus token with Manaru to give something like Sarasu or like Genesis Rat or something a focus token to have a double modded munition.
You could dump the plasma torpedoes and go with an illicit and then Cutthroat, right? Or
expert handling too.
Expert handling is really good. Yeah, that's insanely good on Manaru, especially at I3 if you can block somebody. Like, oh my god. Like
also shout out to Genesis Red, who can take false transponder codes and like plasma. So you can do it the way that you want to do it. They ruled it that way. You can steal all their tokens and then jam them off with false transponder codes and then shoot a torpedo at them, which is hilarious.
That's pretty great, actually.
Yeah, so I like that version more than like just strictly proton torpedo Cutthroat.
All right, what are counters?
Oh man, like they don't have a lot of health by and large.
Yeah.
Or if they do, they're low agility.
Yeah, I think I6s here can really tear these ships apart. High initiative against this particular list here can really take out the linchpins on here, which would be Lima Kai helping provide those target locks for Manaru, or taking out Sarasu, providing those defensive rerolls for the rest of the list there. They're keeping together. The other part of this too is the same Achilles heel that they have is objective play on this one, being able to outdo them with objectives really helps this particular it really helps your chances on going against this particular list, because they're going to want to try to spend their actions to either claim objectives, which basically negates their their torps, and they go down to a 2 die shot, or they'll have to continuously focus on trying to get those shots in, either with target locks or trying to get in position so that way they can shoot at the lock that they already have, and they can't really focus too much on objectives at that point there. So that's what I would see as the way to counter this list.
Anything else?
I mean, it's just hard to like set that kind of stuff up because your only double mods are basically coming from if Genesis Red managed to get someone with a green token at I4, or like Manaru passes off. So it can lead to like not very accurate like Alpha Strike, which is not what you want if you're trying to wipe something off the board. You want it to be as accurate as possible, and it's tough to do that in Scum.
All right. For the last one we have is a Republic Alpha Strike list that Alex submitted. This list has reroll capabilities with missiles plus a few bombs. There's not enough dedicated in this list to satisfy Alex, but we are doing, in fairness, a Alpha Strike list, not a dedicated list, so there is that.
There's only 2, and it's not enough.
The list does pack consistency, though, in fairness. Like, I think this list is very consistent and has the ability to discharge enough munitions to stop ships, in their path. Plus, you get the benefit of having Oddball's passive ability, and Oddball is just good, I think, period. Like, I just think Oddball's... I mean, for Christ's sake, Oddball gets 18 points of loadout in the Y-Wing. So, like, whoever thought that was a good idea is crazy. But this list does provide things in Republic that you don't normally see that would benefit an Alpha Strike. Alex, what is the list that we're looking at?
Okay, well, you're never going to go see Oddball in Y-Wing because everyone's bringing him in an arc. That's why he's got 18 points of loadout there. But yeah, it's Oddball in a Y-Wing with dedicated proton torpedoes, R4, and synchronized console, which is a ridiculous amount of loadout you can have for a 4-point ship like that. You have Contrail with dedicated R3 synchronized console, the best, and seismic charges. You have SOC Kickback, which does have the Diamond Boron missiles. You have NAC, which is an I-5, and that's why he's there, with Fire Control and Mag Pulse synchronized console. You have Slider with FCS and synchronized console. And then Sicko with Barrage Rockets, Wolfpack, and Saturated Salvo. So this is a... you got 4 I-5s, an I-4, and an I-2 in there. A lot of it just kind of relies on probably Contrail picking up 2 locks, passing one off with synchronized console, probably to NAC, who will then shoot the mag pulse. You have FCS, and then you could pass off that lock again, give it to like Oddball, who can... the LAT provides 2 rerolls with fire conversions, and that's really strong in an Alpha Strike list, and really strong in synchronized console lists. So you can just reroll 2 dice with Oddball. With the fire conversions, you just roll up with a focus token. That's all you need, and then you keep passing it down the line.
Yeah, what I like about this list is just having the ability to have 6 ships of here in this list, being able to really take advantage of the synchronized console shots for their munitions, particularly the Clone Z95s having the fire control system, being able to have a reroll with those locks that they have, and then being able to pass it on is really nice on here. I do like Sicko, in addition to this list here, being able to provide rerolls as well with its natural ability, and having Wolfpack to enable the barrage rocket shot effectiveness with this list too is just really, really strong on this. Now, the question I have for you is, I was actually toying around with a Republic Alpha list as well. This one only had 5 ships on here, but I wanted to have more higher initiatives on here. So in my version of it, I had Anakin Skywalker in the Y-Wing with proton torpedoes, weapon system officers, and synchronized console. So that way Anakin can shoot a torp at I-6 and actually obtain a lock at I-6. Still has 3 force to be able to use. And then can spend the lock and then regain it with weapon system officers to pass it on to either Contrail or Oddball or Kickback. And in my list, I had Rick Olay as well with proton torpedoes. What do you think that Anakin could be a potentially good piece at I-6, being able to grab locks and pass it off with sync console?
It's solid, but the only problem is that Y-Wing is 6 points, and that eats a lot in Republic when they have 2 ships that can be taken at 2 points. So you can take a 4-point ship like Oddball and also Slider or Boost instead of just like Anakin. Okay. But also in this list, because it has like Wolfpack, I wanted to allow it to have incoming I-6 and I-5 shots, so I can actually take the lock with Wolfpack in order to like punish people who are shooting first before me.
That's fair.
Yeah, and then also like Rick Ale with the proton torpedoes. You have to be at like range 1 with the Sync Council in order to pass him the lock because he doesn't have a modification slot. So you're either
Well,
going to get like a single modded.
yeah,
or-
for Rick, I didn't have him with I didn't have him with Sync Console because he only has 12 points, but I had him on
Well, he
there
doesn't
as
have a mod slot either. You
yeah,
literally
exactly.
cannot put Sync Console on him. So you have to be range 1 with someone else with a Sync Console.
Exactly. Yeah. I just wanted to be that flanker piece that had that proton torpedo shot available to him if he decided to use it there, instead of having to be within the group.
Yeah, I wonder if like maybe like plasma torps might be a little bit better. That way you get a little bit more.
Yeah, a little
Something
more
out of
points to
them.
play around there and have him shoot first. Yeah.
What are counters?
This one here is a little bit is a little hard to counter. I think more so than the other ones that we've seen, mainly because in Alex's version you got 6 ships that are able to really take advantage of this. So I feel that it's tougher for you to jam correctly. Now that being said, you are able to, if you have a continuous way to constantly jam multiple ships, you can help break the synchronized console chain on this one here. Honestly, I think this one is one where you really want electro chaff missiles to help get multiple ships at once to help break that chain and then just pummel and take out as many of these smaller ships as possible. If you can start knocking out some of the lower health ones like Knack and Slider, yeah, you're only getting 32 points back, but that's going to be dice that are coming against you at the end that you may not have mods for, and that gives you a better chance to help initiative kill ships off the board and just work your way from there. I think that they also have enough flexibility in this list to take care of objectives, so I think you concentrate a little bit more on trying to outfly these ships and help have them split fire, so that way you're able to take out ships one at a time on this one.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough with them because they don't have to be next to each other for synchronized council because that goes out to range 3, as does Wolfpack. And for fire conversion, you just have to be within the Lat's arc, which is really not difficult to do.
Yeah.
So like these aren't grouped together, so I'm not even sure about electro chaff on that. Honestly, it's just kind of a pain. I mean, it's just you got 2 Z95s, they die real fast. Kickback's a Torn, it's got no shields. You know, Contrail only has 4 health. It's just there's low health in this list. So I think if you manage to produce a lot of spike damage, you can break this list.
Yeah.
Even with like the dedicateds, and also if you wanted to pass the evade with kickback.
Yeah, so crits matter, right? Because
Yeah,
people
by
have
far.
less shields in this list.
Yeah, you only basically have 2 on every ship, except for the Torrent, which just doesn't have any. But man, I love that oddball. Just
I
bump
know you do.
someone. Just bump someone. You get a free lock, and you just pass it off with Sync
It's
Console.
your favorite thing, Alex. We know.
It is. It just sucks that everyone's going to play the Arc Oddball, which is probably a better call in most lists. But I love me some Y-Wing Oddball.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else before we wrap up and move on to the last segment?
Well, if you're a newer player that's looking to test out this archetype, definitely give this a try. Formation flying definitely plays big on this particular archetype to be effective and to try to eliminate ships. If you're looking to gain efficiency on this, definitely like learned flying formation on this one here. If you have ships that are the same chassis, that definitely helps you out because you're able to get a feel for how that group is going to be is going to go. Don't be afraid to split if you're able to have an effective attacker that can shoot a torpedo double modded on their own. They don't have to be in the same formation as everybody else. If you're going to have them approach your intended target from a different vector to go and attack an intended target there, that's definitely a really effective way to making sure that your target doesn't run away or that you lose your quarry, and that way you can be successful with this particular list.
Yeah, if you're new and starting out, run the Empire one over the rest of the other ones are a little bit more triggers and convoluted just to initiate like an Alpha Strike, but like that Empire one, you just one forward and focus because you're the rebels now.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. I think you're right. I think I don't know. I like the Republic one better. I think though.
That one's a little bit hard to like wrap your mind around because you got to be like, there's a lot of critical decision points on if you are going to spend the lock itself to break that chain and how like the whole opportunity cost for that. I think the Empire one, literally, just one straight focus, and we'll figure it out later.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I don't know. I think it's kind of like a catch-22. Do you want to do this? Do you not want to do this? Thing with it, right?
Yeah,
I like it. All right. Well, as we wrap up for tonight, I want to thank you all for joining us on this wonderful journey for list analysis for Academy 101 Alpha Strike discussion. Next week, we'll be covering, I don't know, what ones have we not covered? Do you know what ones we haven't covered, JJ?
Not at the top of my head.
We haven't done aces.
All right,
Oh,
we're doing
That
aces.
is actually relevant right now.
All right,
Yeah.
we're doing aces next week, right? That's what we're going to do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
All right, so you guys all submit your aces lists, and we'll cover them.
Bring Gargor. No one will see.
Gargor? Okay, hold on.
I better see some Null. I better see some...
Anything I0.
All right, why? Why would you want that? Why would you want to do that?
Null's a 7 until he becomes a 0.
I want to see Rush with concussion bombs somewhere in the list.
They have those type bombers. I could bring Scorch.
There you go. Yep.
Everybody else does, right? I want to thank you all for joining us. If you have not, please like, subscribe, and follow any of our channels. We have 1 million channels out there all over the place. So if you would like to, please go ahead and follow us for everything that we do. Thank you. Have a good night, and we will see you on the flippity flop.